welcome to the Midweek Mashed Tattie Sportscast. This is MMA Mash, the weekly mixed martial arts roundup that features all the latest news and reviews from the UFC, One Championship, Bellator, PFL, and so much more. My name is, of course, Mick, and as always, I'm joined at cage side by the man that's more question than answer, is Mr. Paul Kerr, and the ever controversial, it's Mr. Harvey A. Smith. How are you, lads?
Fun, Dabby Dozy. How are you?
I'm not bad, thanks. Paul?
Oh, living the dream as always, sitting here in my Father's Day pyjamas, just jamming, lads.
A very happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. We are recording this on Father's Day.
Jamming.
Oh, you like jamming
Dads,
too?
the stepdads, and the guys, you're just good guys. Hell yeah, man.
Hell yeah, brother.
Right, question before we get any further. Because there was no comment last week for anybody, host or otherwise. Is anybody picking up on the Harvey A. Smith banter? The ever controversial Mr. Harvey A. Smith.
I like Stephen A. Smith.
There it goes. There we are.
Took me a wee minute there. I'm like, is his name no Stephen? I just wasn't quick off the draw. Sorry, mate.
I couldn't mind his name. I was like, I could see him. I know who it is, but I just couldn't.
Yes. What's he been saying, man? What's your Stephen been saying?
I've not heard anything from him recently, but he's always controversial.
No, nothing.
When he opens his mouth, there's something
always,
controversial that comes out.
Always.
He's a very passionate speaker. He very much enjoys the sound of his own voice. It's always short sentences when he's trying to make a point. And loves his voice. I bet he does that in the mirror in the bathroom in the morning.
You are amazing.
You are going to talk some shit today.
The thing is, the problem with him is a lot of the time it makes sense what he's saying it, but it's just the way he delivers it. Just delivers it in a way to create controversy.
Very animated.
He's a fan of hyperbole.
Aye.
Yes, hyperbole. There is a word.
What did I do?
The bold Stephen.
Ah, Christ. Well, on that note, let's get it on. Okie dokie. Keeping with the theme of short and sweet-ish, we are going straight into recaps. First thing on the docket, PFL 4 for the 2022 season. I know Paul didn't watch it because he didn't realise it was on this week.
Sorry.
Harvey, how about yourself? Did you venture into the world of PFL?
To Paul.
I thought the minute you started that sentence, Harvey looked very unconfident there.
See if I'm not reminded about other things other than UFC or one, I'll honestly, I have any idea.
The hilarious thing is, we did do a podcast last week. No,
we did.
Granted, I didn't remind you like 10 minutes before the start time or anything.
Aye.
But I did say last week when it was on. However,
I remember. Constant reminder.
To be fair, right?
Tell me all about it.
I did forget myself until this morning. So I did scan through it. I have watched the most of it the day, run about everything else I was doing. So, aye.
So is that any
try to make me feel guilty, you prick. And you for blowing that.
So is there anything of note on said PFL show, mate?
No.
And your humble opinion? No, really? So, right, so...
A couple of no bad fights, but there was nothing crazy. It's the thing with the PFL, with the setup that they've got, the model that they use, where it's like this tournament format, this sort of season tournaments and seasons and etc. It kind of means that like there's a wee bit more meaning to every card and every matchup. So although there's no super crazy fights or knockouts or anything like that to be seen here, not to say there wasn't finishes and the like, but just nothing that jumped out as like, holy fuck, gotta make sure the boys this kind of thing. However, matchups that, even if it's between two guys that seemingly don't have a chance of going through, it can affect other guys' chances of getting into the playoffs. So it's like taking some of the excitement, not take some of the excitement, what it might lack at times in terms of excitement in the cage. You've got that sort of added excitement of watching the leaderboard and seeing how everything's shaking out. It's something that you kind of get with other sports. Like you might watch a game of footy or something like that, and it's maybe a shite game of football, but they drew, which means that this team now needs to win because they managed to get a point out of that or whatever.
So they only fight. How many times do they fight?
They fight twice and then they go into the playoffs.
Oh.
And the playoffs are quarterfinals, semi-finals, final, I think. No, semi-final.
Right.
Semi-final, final. Aye, semi-final fit because it's 4 for every division goes through to the playoffs. Aye. So two fights, seemingly randomly assigned, but I think it's actually matchmakers, so it's not random at all. They just decide who they want fighting. They have 2 fights. They score 3 for a win plus a bonus for a stoppage. 3 points for a first round. Well, that's what you're doing. 3-2-1 depending on the round. And then so obviously they get points for that, and then the top 4 in the table go through the playoffs.
So Stevie Ray, who's lost a fight, can still get through.
Yeah, so we'll come back to him later on. We'll talk about it because he's fighting next week. So when we look ahead to next week, we'll talk about his matchup and his chances. But sort of spoiler alert for that conversation that we'll have in 15 minutes, 20 minutes time. Stevie Ray needs a first round stoppage, effectively. He needs a first round stoppage next week to go through in the playoffs.
What did you say? It goes like 3-2-1, right? So
the best they can do is 6 points. So a first round stoppage will get you a 6 points on the table. Second round stoppage, they get 3 for the win, and then 2 for the stoppage, so they would get 5. So stoppage win in the third round, they get 1 bonus point for the stoppage, 3 for the win, so 4. And if it's a decision win of any kind, it's 3 points. And I want to say if it's a draw, nobody gets anything. No, they got a point each, I think, if it's a draw. Something like that. Anyway, which way? I'm more excited about next week's with Stevie Ray fighting and that. But actually, one thing of note before we move on for PFL, Jeremy Stephens. He picked up a win over Miles Price. I went into that fight knowing that Jeremy Stephens was fighting, right? Because I was fast forwarding through, I sort of fast forwarded through the majority of the build up and that, basically to the bell sounding for the let's start the fight. Watched the fight, right? Thinking, I can't even remember who Miles Price is fighting here because I don't recognise this guy. Then the names get. Then Jeremy Stephens is declared the winner, and I'm thinking, oh shit, that's right. So, for a bit of background here, Jeremy Stephens was struggling to make weight, so he shaved his beard and his head down to the bone. So he did, like the guy's had a beard for as long as I've been watching him fighting. I can't ever remember seeing him without a beard. He's always had a bushy beard, has Jeremy Stephens. Like as long as he's been sort of notable within the UFC and that. He was completely unrecognisable, man. And it wasn't until like he gets his hand raised, I'm like, oh shit, that's right, I remember reading about that. Just doesn't look like himself at all, man. If you Google it, you'll see like
I can indeed see the difference. Aye, that is incredible.
It looks like a totally different guy.
Incredible. Aye, that is wild. Unreal.
It somehow makes him look heavier. It makes his face look chubbier. I think it changes the shape because he's not got the beard.
He goes from looking like a cage fighter to a convict.
I
mean, let's be honest.
I was going to say, he looks either like somebody who's just been locked.
The old penitentiary nutcut.
Aye,
he does. He's got the old San Quentin kind of look about him the other way.
Either that or he's just joined the Marines.
Prisoner 13570.
Oh, God.
Well, I think on that note, we shall move on to UFC Fight Night Austin. There was quite a bit going on here, so we'll have a bit more to talk about here. And I'm assuming that he's main card Paul, I'm assuming has seen the main card.
Main card champ! Woo, woo, woo! Main card!
Harvey, what do you have to show for yourself?
I've seen pretty much most of it.
Pretty much most of it.
Full card Harvey.
That's a resounding. I've watched the main card and I think I saw some highlights of something else.
I'll give a more positive answer.
The other way about. Yeah, for you.
There you go. I mean, you're practically covered.
We've covered.
You couldn't be any better.
Right. Let's do before we get into the fights that did happen. Let's talk about the fight that didn't happen. Right.
I know, man. Got it again.
So for the second time in a row, the matchup of Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Joe Lozon fell through at the last minute. On the first time they tried to do it, Donald Cerrone got ill on weigh-in day. On fight day, I think, actually. Or overnight, going into fight day.
I took very unwell, didn't he?
This time, it is quite the story. So, Joe Lozon, after weighing in on the scales, making weight, happy days, goes backstage, sits down, takes his flip-flops off, or his sliders, whatever you want to call them, and goes to put his socks on, right? As he goes to put his sock on, he moved his sort of leg over and sort of moved his knee to the side to like bend down and get the sock on. And as he's moved his knee to the side, he's had a pain in his knees and his knees locked up. And then he's basically had a history of meniscus issues. So he's immediately thought, oh shit, there goes my meniscus again. Can't he put any weight in his leg? His knee is killing him. Can't he straighten the leg? He's done for. So he tries to make like everything's good. He does a bit of play fighting with one of his coaches or teammates and jumps in their back, like he's trying to choke them and that, and then like whispering his lug, like, you need to carry me out of here, I can't walk. So he gives him a cuddy out to go away and get a bit of privacy, and they have a look at the leg. They can't figure out what the issue is, so they have to make the dreaded phone call and say that he can't fight, because he has to go to the hospital and get this checked out. Like, I think he basically started making arrangements to get an MRI once he flew back to Massachusetts for his fight. And I think he's basically assigned himself to, well, there goes my meniscus again. So it turns out, allegedly, that it is what is known. Now, this hasn't been diagnosed by any medical professionals. But basically, he was active in social media about what was going on once he had updated the UFC. And somebody reached out to him and said, I had that exact issue. These were the symptoms they seem to align with you. Look at this video, this helped me. So supposedly it was a tib-fib dislocation.
Oh.
Right.
Jesus.
So I've got this wee paragraph of what Joe Lozon has passed on to, I think, MMA Fighting. Did an interview with them. So it was the quote is, it was called a tib-fib dislocation. So basically the bones of my leg were dislocated. That's why we couldn't get it back. So I did the exercise in the video and it popped back in. It's insane. My leg fully works. I'm able to hop, walk, jump. I literally could not put socks on. I couldn't lift my foot off the bed. I couldn't stand. I couldn't put any weight on it. I couldn't do anything the last day and a half. I had to try and hobble, and I couldn't even hop on one foot because I couldn't take my foot shaking. It was horrible. So it's went for like just like crazy pain and everything else to totally fine again. Just by doing whatever exercise it is that's popped it back into place. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he could fight, because if there's something going on there that's allowed it to dislocate, stands to reason.
It needs to.
I would suggest there's an issue, right?
Aye. So it's probably something you can have a look at, but it is pretty mental that for a day and a half there, he was totally out of the game, and then one silly wee thing and it pops it back into place because it was some sort of dislocation thing. But aye, you couldn't bloody write it, man. So according to Dana White, that's them. He's no rebooking the fight. He reckons they're cursed, so he's moving on to something else.
You can see why. You can see why he's done with that.
It's a shame though, because that would have been such a good fight, man. Their first fight was epic, so it would have been a really good fight. But maybe one day they'll match them up again. I don't know. We'll see. Right, so on to the fight card. Right, I think what we'll do is I'll run through it from the bottom, and then rather than going through all the results and then circling back to talking points, we'll just go through it and we'll talk about stuff as it comes up. So opening the card, we had Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkins, and it was Roman picking up the win via KO. It was a knee followed by punches. Now, worth noting, there was a lot of stoppages on this card. It was a night for knockouts, man. There was a few submissions as well, but it was a crazy night of fights. It was really good. So the night started strong with Roman Dolidze. Then next up we had Phil Hawes defeating Darren Nguyen. This time it was a TKO via elbows in round 2. Then we had
Did you know?
Sorry, when you go?
Sorry. With the elbows, because he was still kind of stunning when he got the elbows right, and then the referee stopped him. Do you think he could have kept going, or the referee made the right decision?
I'm trying to replay it in my brain. That one. No,
Elbow.
I think that was the right decision in that one. I was,
Elbow.
I know, right, I remember.
Oh, no, that's right, because I picked up like 6 or 7 elbows back to back.
Aye,
that's right.
He elbowed the shit out of him, basically.
That's right.
I was calling for the referee to stop that 2 or 3 seconds before the referee jumped in. It was the guy became a punching bag. It's interesting because we almost every week we have a discussion where either referees come in too quick or not quick enough, and we talk about it's such a fine line. But in that case, like I was looking at that thinking, no, he's done enough. He's not recovering for that. Aye. So it's always an interesting conversation. But no, I'm with the referee in that one.
Aye, that one. Aye.
Next up, we had Cody Dudden defeating Eddie Wineland. Sorry. This one I was kind of surprised by. Not so much that Cody won, but like it was pretty quick and aye, it was brutal. But I believe it was a big left hook that started it.
The left hook started it, and he dropped, and then he jumped on him.
Aye,
it went back up to he did get back up on his feet pretty quick, but he just was wailing on him.
Yeah,
and the referee was like, "Nah."
Aye. Aye,
like,
it was.
You're done, my friend.
It was really quick as well, man. It was like a minute on it. Aye, 59 seconds. It was 59 seconds.
There you go.
Aye, it's a quick one.
Eddie
Wineland's really good, but he's one of these guys that like he still puts out good performances, but he's probably past his best, unfortunately. But he's still really good, and he still deserves his place in the UFC. He just seems to have a tendency to lose to some of these up and comers. Next up, we had Maria Oliveira defeating Gloria de Paula. This was the first. So we're 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th fight of the night. This was the first decision win. So it's a split decision for Oliveira. That was actually a really fun fight, I've got to say. I enjoyed that one. Now in the next one, man, this was craziness. Ricardo Ramos defeating Daniel Chavez. Ramos is ridiculous, man. He's went back to back with crazy knockouts, man. He hit this kind of. It's like he sort of does like a wee dip, like he's faking a takedown. Like he's faking that he's changing levels, and then he kind of spins and rolls his shoulders and kind of comes over and around with the elbow.
That's sexual. I've
and
just
Paul's
seen it.
just
My
watched it live.
Wow.
I was just gonna send a link to it, by the way.
Oh hell yeah!
Because I
love the faint into it. That is incredible. Sorry to bring the live reaction to you there, boys, but I love that.
That's the one, for a bit of backroom chat here, that's the one, Paul, that I sent in the group chat, I messaged the 2 names without any any context. I just messaged
with
the
zero
2 names.
context.
Aye, because that was bananas, man. So crazy
that was
elbow.
wild.
And Chavez is like out on his feet. There's a couple of seconds where he's just like frozen on his feet. And then Ramos comes in with like a massive, I think it's a massive left, no, a massive right, and then he swings the left but misses with the left because Chavez starts tipping over like a tree.
No wonder,
he's just like
incredible.
It was a hellacious elbow, man.
Yeah.
And then following that up was Jeremiah Wells defeating Mcgee, who I've got a soft spot for, man, big fan of that guy. But Jeremiah Wells, clearly not a fan, he absolutely floored them in just over a minute. A minute and 34 seconds. He absolutely flattened Mcgee. He knocked him stiff, man.
Aye. He did a number on him.
I think that was another big left hook.
Big right hook, I think, mate. Oh no, it was a left. Sorry, man. It was indeed a left. Aye. It was a left. He was thrown heavy.
Aye. I mean, it was an absolute night for it, man. Then we had Natalya Silva defeating Jasmine
from Lithuania.
I had this earlier. Jusudavicius. That's it. Jusudavicius.
Aye.
You need to say it fast. If you try and say it slow, you just trip yourself up. My tongue starts tying itself in knots. So it's Jasmine Jusudavicius. I fucked it up. Anyway, so Natalya won. That was a unanimous decision. So the second decision of the night. No bad fight again. No quite as good as the Oliveira and the Paula one, but aye, that was a fun fight. It was almost as if this was booked, because like you've got these crazy knockouts back to back to back, and then you get like a fight that's just a wee bit better paced. You get the full 3 rounds, you kind of relax and get more into things before you get all the excitement again. So then we move on to the main card, and we had Gregory Rodriguez defeating Julian Marquez. Now, have both of you seen this fight?
Yanez no first?
I would have said, it was Yanez, not the fight that opened the main card, Michael.
Aye. Yanez and Kelly.
The man from Texas.
It was, aye.
Aye.
They've got, I don't know why they've got them back to front.
That's why we're here.
I mean, not to throw them under the bus, but MMAfighting.com is where I do my copy and paste to get my results.
No, throw them under the bus. Throw them under the bus. Get out them. Get them right out.
Right, well, let's talk about them in order. Right, so Adrian Yanez defeating Tony Kelly. Now, does they names ring any bells for these?
I mean, no, I didn't really know much going into this fight. I just, obviously, the commentary team were talking up that Yanez was a local, wasn't it?
Right. Let me give you the background. Let me take you back a few weeks. I don't remember what the card was.
Take me back. Set the scene.
There was a card a few weeks ago where Angela Lee was fighting a Brazilian lady. And in her corner was her partner, Tony Kelly.
Of
who
course.
Said, and I quote, after alleged cheating or eye-poking incident, Tony Kelly said, and I quote, "That's what they're going to do. They're dirty fucking Brazilians. They're going to fucking cheat like that." He's the arsehole racist guy, right? It was UFC Vegas 54. I did write it down. So, Adrian Yanez is the Texan of Mexican descent, I believe, who was called upon by some of the Brazilians, including Gilbert Burns, to trounce this guy.
Yes.
So he delivered.
And he said, "I'll do it."
He delivered big time, man.
He definitely did.
I have made a note here. I've put an asterisk next to it, and I've added in Adrian Yanez, hero defeats Tony Kelly, prick.
Absolutely. Right, so that makes sense why there was so much jaw-jacking the minute he won then, because there was an immediate animosity. Like, after the bell, there wasn't any of your post-fight respect.
But did you see what he done? The referee was trying to, like, after the referee stopped the fight, he was still like, "Go on," I think he gave him the fingers to him and was saying something to him.
The referee to shove him back out of the way, The ref had to really come between them to make sure he didn't go back at him.
Yanez looked really good, I've got to say. He looked really good.
Yeah, he very much did, didn't he?
He could not miss. He was beating the shit out of him, man. He looked really good.
He just seemed to have that kind of range, kind of set, didn't he? Like where every punch is just finding its mark.
Crisp boxing, man. It was a really good performance for him. Obviously, he was charged up with everything going on. Another thing, he was pissed off as well because apparently in the build-up through fight week, one of the press conferences or something, Tony Kelly said that Adrian Yanez was a wish Masvidal. He said there was a wish.com Masvidal.
So he's trying to be wish.com Covington, obviously. He's kind of trying to go heel. Right. And they kind of plan to try to antagonise him into mistakes. But
it's not what.
What he's done is effectively painted a massive target in his face.
Yep. Christ.
Did you listen to his interview after?
Think so. Aye.
Yanez was definitely very charged up. I don't even think Kelly didn't even stay in the octagon, did he?
No,
he just left. He just stormed out.
He something tickle you got a quote or something?
No, not a quote. I just kind of vaguely remember the thing where he was just like, I was talking shit. And, I just knew I had to do it because I think he said something to him during the fight as well. And he was like, oh, okay then.
He said some paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of that's how you. That's what you get for talking bullshit. Or something along the lines.
Something like that. And then
I don't know.
He was saying that Kelly was in when they were in the ring fighting, that Kelly was saying something to him as well, like talking shit to him, and he was just like,
aye, yeah.
He's like,
I remember him going on about. He was saying something about like that's what we do in Texas or something like that. It's like
something like that.
Chat bullshit to a true Texan. We'll take you outside and punch you up or something like that. Matter.
There was a wee bit of promo kind of getting cut, wasn't there?
Aye.
Anyway.
It was.
He seems like a nice lad, and he was on serious form, man. He's boxing like hella good, man. He's one to watch. Right, back to the one that I was confused about. Gregory Rodriguez defeating Julian Marquez. Gregory Rodriguez is the guy that is nicknamed RoboCop.
Oh yes.
He had a hell of a fight in his last outing. It was against somebody that's like the guy who was fighting was like nicknamed Hulk or something.
Armin Petrosian. I remember the fight night. Yeah, in February.
That's right.
It would have been.
Aye, Petrosian, the kickboxer. That's what it was. Aye.
It was a phenomenal fight. I remember. It was like a kaiju war, wasn't it? It was like Godzilla versus Kong.
In this fight, man, Rodriguez beat the absolute shit out of Julian Marquez.
Oh my Jesus!
Do you know what when it finished? The thing that went through my head was, I can just hear Paul now describing that as a scheme booting, because that is exactly what that was.
It was exactly it. I felt sorry for Marquez coming, because they did such a good job of hyping up Marquez as this kind of totally overcoming adversity because I think he had a bad injury, am I right in saying in his past?
I believe so. I don't know the full story, but he was coming back.
Injury.
He was coming back off or something, I remember.
And he kind of went on a wee streak, and then obviously he ran into RoboCop, who just gave it the old dead or alive, you're coming with me, and took him.
Rodriguez was just walking through everything.
He's a force of nature.
Chin right there, no head movement, just walking forward, taking shots and just nailing the guy.
He seems to have so much power as well, man. Like the power he generates.
It's like fighting Groot. He just plods forward, getting at the I am Groot. Quack, quack, quack.
The size of Groot as well, man. It's a big tree.
You hit him with the hardest shot you've got. I am Groot.
Whack, whack, whack. I am Groot.
Looking at them fighting now, you would think that they were bloody heavyweights, man.
They're very big guys, aren't they?
It's like, and middleweight, and you're like, what?
Aye, it doesn't make sense. Man.
Yeah, some,
over 6
Who's fucked
foot,
up?
built like absolute tree trunks. And yet
Someone
middleweight.
just put the wrong thing down there for the commentator. Surely this is no middleweight. Like, it's a typo.
I don't know what they weigh when they're fighting, right? But they two guys weigh in like 50 pounds less than me. I don't look like that.
No.
I'm a medium-sized child bigger than them somehow. Doesn't make sense.
Rodriguez is 6'3" as well, man. He's a big guy.
His weight cut's got to be. He's got to be
guy.
over 200 pounds of fight night, man. His weight cut must be mental. Because that guy is thick with 2 C's, man.
Like, that's the only reason he can carry so much power is because he could punch through a wall.
Looks
man.
like it, aye.
He is. Honestly, I would back him against a wall. It was a phenomenal show of brute strength, man.
Aye.
Loved it.
That was my favourite fight tonight, I've got to say. I was bouncing about the couch,
Agreed.
man. That was epic.
Agreed.
Although,
you say favourite, there's one up the card I've got a wee soft spot for. We'll come to him, share.
Fair play. Right, so back to reality. Next up, we had Demir Magulov versus Guram Kutaladzi. This one was an interesting one. So for me, watching the fight, Kutaladzi, although competitive fight, close at some points, I felt that Kutaladzi very much got the better of it, and I thought he won fairly handedly. Apart from like some grappling attempts for Magulov, it was pretty much Kutaladzi's fight, I thought. And yet the scorecards are red, 29-28, Kutaladzi. Aye, right, fair enough. We'll give Magulov a round, okay. 29-28 is Magulov. Right, don't know if I agree with that. Okay, right, we'll let it go. One judge has got a dodgy eye or something. 30-27 is Magulov. Say what now? Who's the third judge? And why have they never seen MMA before?
And what crack is he smoking?
Like, how much have they paid him? Because clearly they've paid him something.
Because he's got to be crack.
stood behind him.
What did he see? What did he see?
What did I miss? Oh, fuck it. This Magulov's good to know.
30-27, why not?
Oh, man. In a scale I never smoked crack before to Nguyen Magulov, 30-27 score, how high were you?
But I'm not going to lie, it baffled me, and I thought, right, am I just not seeing it because I don't know fighting? But I'm glad that you guys.
I was perplexed.
We're also baffled. Aye,
that was.
Well, it's not even like he was like 29-28. It was like a full 30-27. Like straight up gave me 3 rounds.
Wow.
Aye.
I mean, if I remember correctly, Kutaladzi dropped him onto his backside and at least staggered him at least once or twice in the first round.
Aye.
How can you go into that as a judge and think
there's no way that any judge?
Was it his dad?
There's no way that any judge with any shreddy experience and knowledge could have scored that first round for Magulov. It makes no sense.
It's a very
unless he was getting paid 50 grand a round. Okay.
And it wasn't even that. I even tried to look at it from the wrestling point of view, but when he's on the ground wrestling him, he's holding him in position. He's not trying to advance his.
He's not advancing position
to win the fight. He's holding him in position to catch his breath, effectively, as far as I'm concerned. Poor
show.
Poor show.
Yes.
So then next up, we're going to move on swiftly. We had Jacqueline. He's not like French or anything, but somehow he's got a mad Jacqueline name. He's feel like New Orleans or something. Jacqueline Buckley defeating Albert Jurev. This was a kind of interesting one, man. Buckley's the guy that's got the mad highlight knockout where he did like the delayed
spinning
back kick. The guy, I can't remember who he was fighting, but the guy caught a kick off his back leg and could throw threw like a right roundhouse kick, I think. The guy caught it, and then Buckley used that to do like a, was it an enziguri you call it, like in wrestling or whatever, like the step up kick.
So it's effectively an enziguri. One performance.
Well, except, it was a spinning one, I suppose, because he went, it was like a spinning back kick kind of thing. But anyway,
I think Kamaguri would be the correct term, or something like that. Sure, Kamaguri.
So he's that guy. Supposedly, just sidebar, apparently he's an arsehole. Folk that have previously trained with him, Dustin Poirier included, apparently do not like him. He's an arsehole. He like hits too hard and he goes too far in training and stuff like that. Apparently, don't know. Never met the guy. He pretty much for 2 and a bit rounds he pretty much beat the shit out of Albert Durev, and it was actually a doctor's stoppage in the end. Effectively, I'm trying to think if Durev even came out for the 3rd round or if it was right at the start of it.
He didn't, mate. It was literally the fight doctor.
It was in between rounds, wasn't it? Aye, so it was 2 rounds of beatdown.
Buckley was kind of waving it, kind of, come on, let's go on with this, and then the doctor.
It started with I think towards the end of the 1st round, I want to say, Buckley landed a left high kick that kind of hit around the sort of temple and eye area of Durev, and then from there he kept tying it with punches in the eye, just swole up, and it was looking quite nasty. So I apparently couldn't really see out that eye.
So where did you say his Joaquin's from?
I think he's from New Orleans. It's somewhere in that neck of the woods.
So if he's from New Orleans, it makes sense for him to have a French name.
I don't know, there's a lot of Frenchness about there, isn't there?
Louisiana used to be French in it until 18.
Well, it's actually St. Louis, Missouri is where he was born, fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri. Yes.
Oh, well, doesn't it make sense now?
Although, if any, St. Louis is a very French-sounding name, I don't know.
That whole kind of area in the south, I think the French is a bit of shenanigans going on. Anyway.
Wee bit of shenanigans.
Right. Moving on. Next up, in the co-main event, we had Kevin Holland defeating Tim Dirty Bird Means. I love that nickname, Dirty Bird.
What a nickname, Dirty Bird. This is where my soft spot comes in. I quite enjoy a bit of Kevin Holland and found him very impressive here. I
thought this is his best performance so far. Even withstanding his knockout off his back against Jacare, I think that was his best performance, I've got to say. I was impressed with him.
Very good. Very good. Again, lovely bit of work for the UFC team to pick up Tim Means with his story.
Tim Means is a bloody legend, man. He's fought in the UFC for a long time. It can't be far off of 15 years, man. It's been a long time.
I know he says a lot of fights on his card, like 40 odd fights.
At
least.
So Kevin Holland, man, he's like I spoke about him last week, I believe I mentioned that he's like a real life bloody superhero. He's a vigilante type, man. He's stopping crimes, and actually on weigh-in day, him and his coaches were going to like a local shop in Texas, in Austin, to get some water. They were going to like an off-license place to get some bottles of water, and a mad crackhead come flying down the street and stole somebody's purse. So Kevin Holland took off after him and got the guy. Like it's just on a daily basis. He's out in the streets stopping crimes and shit, man. He's wild.
It makes it all the funnier when he's such a jovial guy as well. Like it's not like some sort of serious kind of fighter. He's quite a character.
I wish I had actually took a note of the quote, man. He did an interview about it, and he said something like, him and one of his coaches just busted out cardio time or something. They went on a run chasing after the crackhead. Class. Anyway, back to the fight chat. So very impressive performance, I've got to say, for Kevin Holland. Totally controlled the fight, man. He was, he totally had the mark of Tim Means. He landed a massive right hand, I think, that floored Tim Means and then jumped on him and locked up a dash choke. Really impressive, man. And even Tim Means is like a wily veteran, and he tried to manoeuvre and escape, and Kevin Holland just sort of turned into him and locked up the darts choke even tighter. Forced
it was a very, very quick and efficient finish, wasn't it? Like, it was
I was really impressed with him. Right, main event time. The main event was Calvin Carter versus Josh Emmett. This is an interesting one. So Josh Emmett picks up the split decision victory here. I thought, as did much of MMA media, fans and pundits, I thought that Calvin Carter won that fight. To say,
right? I don't know, mate. I don't know.
It was a very close fight. It was very close.
It's what do you wonder? Is it volume or is it damage done? Like, it's one of the kind of arguments, isn't it? Like, it's tight.
Josh Emmett was active. He was moving forward a lot of the time. He seemed to be the kind of aggressor a lot of the time. But for me, Calvin Carter was landing the better shots. I just thought it was his fight, man. Just kind of overall, I thought he had it. But it was really close, like I say.
It was very, very. I thought it was incredible. So it's one of the old things where MMA hurts. Where there've been 0 draws, like. The lack of a chance of
it's just I don't know, very interesting that on all 3 of the scorecards. So I've got the scorecards here, right? So it was, the judges were Chris Lee, Doug Crosby, and Sal D'Amato. So all 3 judges gave rounds. What was it? They gave rounds 1 and 3 to Josh Emmett, and they gave round 5 to Calvin Carter. They were unanimous on their rounds, but then rounds 2 and 4 were up in the air. The judges couldn't agree on them. So for me, I agree. Sort of thinking, now I've only watched it the once, so I've not went back and tried to score it. But going off of memory, I agree with Doug Crosby. So he had it 48-47 for Calvin Carter. He went rounds 2, 4 and 5 for Calvin Carter. And I think part of the reason why, in my mind, Calvin won the fight was because he finished stronger. And in my mind, like, he won 4 and 5. And I feel like he won at least one, if no more, out of the first 3 rounds. So, like, do the basic maths, that means he wins. But 2 of the judges had it a bit different. So, I thought it would be interesting to see how close it was using the scoring system that MMA Verdict use. So Verdict, the app, where the fans can score. So basically they work on averages. And then it got me thinking that, this there might be something to this for like a better scoring system for MMA. So if you basically, rather than tallying up each judge's scorecard individually and then getting your overall winner, if you take each judge's round score and add them together and do an average, it gives you this averaged scorecard, right? So for round 1, so this is based off of the 3 judges' scorecards. So for round 1, it would be a 10-9 for Josh Emmett. For round 2, it would be a 9.67 to Carter and 9.33 to Emmett. So round 2 goes to Carter. For round 3, it would be a 10-9 to Emmett. For round 4, again, 9.67 to 9.33 in favour of Carter. Round 5, 10-9 for Carter. So it gives you an overall score of 47.34 for Carter and 47.66 to Emmett. So it shows how close it was even on the 3 judges' scorecards. It's basically 0.32 difference between them. Really close.
Right. My question here is, why don't they do that in
I don't know.
That's so much better.
For me,
like you're getting a combined consensus as opposed to this split bollocks.
So you don't need to have unanimous decision, split decisions, whatever else. You just have, if it goes to the judges, you have a decision. and this is what the decision is.
This is what they've come together with.
So,
there's no...
For me...
hung nonsense,
Ramp up the number of judges, right? 5 is probably somewhat doable. It doesn't take up much more space at cage side. You don't need to really increase the pool of judges too much. You know what I mean? It's probably really easily put in place to have 5 judges per fight. It's feasible.
With there, you've less chance of a dodgy judge.
That's it,
sabotaging a fight, effectively. Like a judge that clearly isn't looking at it correctly, it has less effect.
So one dodgy decision for a judge, when there's 3 judges, can fuck with the averages and it can make things dicey. But if you've got 5 judges, then whether you're doing traditional scoring or this sort of average scoring, across 5 judges, it's going to even it, and you're going to get a pretty realistic look at what's what. And also the chances of 5 judges being so far apart, the more judges you have, the better chance you've got of getting a proper reading of what the fight actually was like. I think a good way to go as well, I'm sure we spoke about this before actually, we basically tried to fix MMA, I think, with the scoring and stuff. I'm sure one of us came up with having I feel like it was me, but I don't want to take credit because I don't know if it was, because I don't remember good enough, but it was have 3+ judges at ringside and then 3+ judges in a studio space away from all the fans and the coaches and the commentators and everybody else, locked in a room with a monitor, a couple of monitors for a couple of different camera angles, and they're in the real world just watching the fight with no influence for the crowd or anything else. And I think again that could be quite easily put in place, 3 cage side, 2 or however many in the studio, something like that, and then work it out by averages. But anyway, we'll not go too far into the rabbit hole with that. I just thought it would be an interesting wee exercise to work that out. So, quick note on the bonuses. I was surprised at this, but Fight of the Night went to the main event. I don't think that was the best fight of the night. As much as it was a 5-round back and forth, I don't think it was the best fight.
And a night where there was so many rock songs, it was like a Radiohead song. There's a lot of talent there and there's a lot to be appreciated, but
doesn't he?
I think there were better fights. I just think it was more exciting. Maybe it's because it's 5 rounds and you're getting your
possibly. I think if that was 3 rounds, it's not getting Fight the Night. That's my kind of gut feeling there. But nevertheless, but for a kind of silver lining, they decided to do what they did last time out, and they went for a 50,000 bonus for all stoppage victories on night. So every one of them fighters that won very convincingly via TKO, via knockout, via submission, they deservedly got a very lovely cash bonus. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm liking seeing that. I hope they keep that going. Right. Any final thoughts on that before we quickly round up what we've got next week?
All in all, a good fight card, mate. That's all I've got to add to it, really.
Nice. Aye, I really enjoyed it, I have to say. Harvey?
That was a good card. A lot of slanging and banging.
That somehow sounds a bit sleazy the way you say that, man, I'm going to say. What are you up to?
My bad.
What are you up to the weekend, mate? Oh, but the old slanging and banging.
Slanging and banging.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Good. Right, so next week we have June 24th. We have Bellator 282 and PFL 5. So June 24th going to be busy all night. Bellator coming at you live and in colour from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville. Is that how you say that? Probably Uncasville.
Your guess is as good as mine.
What's Con? Connecticut? CONN full stop. I'm assuming that's short for Connecticut.
Yes.
So we have Marcos Breno versus Richard Palencia. Mandel. You know what? Fuck that shit. Let's just pick out some good fights. So we have, wait till we see what jumps out here. We have Anatoly Tokov versus Mohamed Abdullah. Good fight. We've got Kat Zingano coming back against Pam Sorensen. That's an interesting fight. Should be fairly winnable for Zingano, but Pam Sorensen's pretty good, so that'll be interesting. Moving on to the main card, what's good here? Brennan Ward versus Cassius Kane, interesting. Magomedov versus Enrique Barzola, that should be good. And main event is Gegard Mousasi defending his middleweight title against Johnny Eblin even. Never heard of him, I've got to say. Johnny Eblin. Wonder if I've seen him fight before. Probably, but I don't know. Anywho, no bad wee card. Moving on, PFL 5. So, also on June 24th, this comes at us from OTE Arena in Atlanta. Who we got on here that jumps out? We've got Brendan Loughlin versus Boston Salmon. Brendan's pretty good. I only really know him from PFL. Boston Salmon, I believe, was once upon a time in the UFC. I remember him being decent. Bubba Jenkins. Oh, he's still going. Bubba Jenkins versus Saba.
What a name.
Bolagi. Main card. Henan Freer versus Cludson Abreu. Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Stevie Ray. That is very interesting. So basically, as we mentioned earlier, Stevie Ray really needs a stoppage victory there, and ideally in the first round to get him through into playoffs, and that's not going to be an easy task against Anthony Pettis. I think Stevie Ray is good enough to take Anthony Pettis the distance and maybe just pull out a decision win. But can he land a massive punch or get in a position to catch Showtime Pettis in a submission? My gut says no, unfortunately. But Stevie Ray can knock people out. Like, he has the power to do that. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. It'll definitely be an interesting one to watch. I hope Stevie at least sort of attacks it with the kind of ferocity that he's going to need to. You know what I mean? He has to go after it if he's going to get through the playoffs. So fingers crossed for him. And then the main event is Bruno Capoloza versus Matthias Scheffel. Right, June 25th, the very next night, we have UFC Vegas 57. Unsurprisingly, coming at us live and in colour from Las Vegas, Nevada. Undercard is JP Buys versus Cody Dudden. See, every time I read that name, Cody Dudden, my brain just goes to Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Oh, Tyler Dudden, of course. Yes.
Brad Pitt's
Project Mayhem. Yes, Tyler.
Right. I don't know why. It's just it must be one of the names that you just don't really hear anywhere else. Somehow that's just where my mind goes with. Next up, we have one of the best names in the game, Vanessa Demopoulos versus Jin Yu Frey. We have Aurelian Pava versus Sergey Morozov. We have Shaylin Nurdenbiek versus TJ Brown. We have Brian Kelleher versus Mario Bautista. We have Thiago Moises versus Christos Giagos. Main card, we've got Carlos Ulberg versus Tafon Nchukwi. Right. Chris Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira. That's a good fight. Nathan Manes versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Well, you've got to watch that if there's an Nurmagomedov in the fight. I believe that's the cousin of Khabib. Then we have Josh Parisian versus Alain Boudreaux. We have Neil Magny versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Very excited for that one. That is a really interesting fight for Rakhmonov. Neil Magny is a big test for him. And then the main event, we've got Arman Sarukian versus Matthias Gamrot. Again, really good fight. So, much like this week, know a ton of sort of big names and like holy shit fights, but going by the fights we had this week, you've got to watch it. We might be in for some crackers as always. And that's pretty much all we've got. Any final thoughts, lads? Good chat.
Good chat, lads. Good chat.
10 coups.
Sitting on them all.
10 coups in a field. 10 coups in a field. Which one is closest to Saudi Arabia? Kuwait.
Kuwait.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Christ.
Outstanding
sir,
dad joke.
Man of the match.
That was the final thought there.
That was my final thought.
Oh, Jesus. Well, if you have been, thank you very much for listening. I have been Mick. They have been Harvey and Paul. We thank you. God bless you. Happy Father's Day to the fathers out there again. Spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your grand doesn't care. Doesn't care what podcast that's. Never mind, just tell her anyway. Cheerio, bye, driver.
Driver.
Bye, driver.
Bye.